This is Mr. Eugene, and today we're examining a phenomenon that's quietly dismantling relationship formation across the developed world, the systematic rejection and subsequent withdrawal of what I call the quiet man. The man who was once the backbone of every successful long-term marriage, the man who built civilizations, the man who made societies function, and the man who modern relationships are designed to fail. The quiet man was the steady provider, the reliable protector, the consistent presence, not flashy, not dramatic, not exciting, just solid, just there, just dependable. He was the 80th percentile man, not top tier, but more than good enough. He made decent income, showed up consistently, kept his word, built stable life. For thousands of years, this man was the foundation of family formation and social stability, but in a world that demands constant entertainment, perpetual validation, and high-stakes drama, the quiet man has become a relic. Modern relationships require performance, excitement, unpredictability. The steady reliability that made him valuable is now boring. The consistency that made him trustworthy is now predictable. The dedication that made him a great partner is now taken for granted. And before we get into this, let me tell you why this matters to me personally and why I'm willing to advocate for men society has decided to discard. Because I am the quiet man, not naturally, by choice. I spent years being the exciting option, the unpredictable choice, the drama generator. And I watched women choose me over better men repeatedly, not because I was better, because I was more entertaining. And I watched those better men, the quiet men, get rejected, friend-zoned, or settled for after women exhausted their excitement phase. And it disgusted me, because those men deserved better than being backup plans. They deserved to be first choices, but they weren't. They were stable options women settled for when excitement didn't yield commitment. So eventually, many of them stopped being options at all. They walked away, they opted out. They decided that being someone's settlement after a decade of her chasing excitement wasn't a prize worth pursuing, and I don't blame them. I respect them. Because they recognized their value even when society didn't. So if you're here expecting me to condemn quiet men for walking away, you're in the wrong place. I'm here to explain why they're walking away, why they're okay with it, and why their absence is finally creating consequences society can no longer ignore. Stay with me. Today we're discussing why the quiet man is no longer fighting for a seat at the table in modern relationships and why his absence is finally being felt. Who is the quiet man? Let's define clearly who we're discussing. The quiet man isn't defined by income bracket or physical attractiveness or social status. He's defined by behavioral patterns and values. The quiet man is reliable. When he says he'll do something, he does it. When he commits to something, he follows through. His word means something. You can depend on him completely because he's proven through consistent action that dependability is his core trait. The quiet man is steady. He doesn't fluctuate wildly emotionally. He doesn't create drama. He doesn't generate chaos. His presence is stabilizing because he's internally stable. When life gets chaotic, he's the calm center. When circumstances are uncertain, he's the predictable constant. The quiet man is humble. He doesn't need to be the center of attention, doesn't need constant validation, doesn't need his ego stroked continuously. He's comfortable with himself. Confident enough not to require external confirmation constantly. The quiet man is provider-oriented. He takes pride in providing for people he cares about, not because he's trying to buy affection, but because provision is how he demonstrates care. He builds, he maintains, he ensures stability. That's his love language. The quiet man is protector-oriented. He takes responsibility seriously. If someone is under his care, he protects them, physically, financially, emotionally. He's the person you can rely on when things go wrong because he won't panic, won't abandon, won't fail you when it matters. The quiet man is low maintenance. He doesn't require constant entertainment or stimulation. He's content with simple pleasures. A quiet evening at home isn't boring to him. It's peaceful. Routine isn't monotonous. It's comfortable. He doesn't need perpetual novelty to be satisfied. The quiet man is long-term oriented. He builds for the future, makes decisions based on where things are heading, not just immediate gratification. Invests time and energy into developing something lasting rather than consuming something exciting that doesn't last. This man, this exact profile, was the foundation of successful marriages for thousands of years. He was the ideal husband, the perfect father, the backbone of stable families. Women's mothers and grandmothers told them, "Find a man like this. He'll take care of you. He'll be there. He'll build a good life with you." And for thousands of years, women listened to that advice. They chose quiet men. They valued reliability over excitement. They appreciated steadiness over drama. They understood that exciting men make terrible husbands and quiet men make excellent ones. But something changed. And that change is destroying relationship formation. What changed, the entertainment imperative modern culture, particularly shaped by social media, has created what I call the entertainment imperative, the expectation that life should be constantly entertaining, validating, and exciting. Social media shows curated highlights. vacations, celebrations, romantic gestures, exciting experiences. It creates the illusion that everyone else's life is perpetually exciting and validates the belief that your life should be too. If your life isn't Instagram-worthy, something must be wrong. This creates completely unrealistic expectations for daily existence. Real life is mostly mundane. Most days are routine. Most moments are ordinary. That's not failure, that's reality. But the entertainment imperative reframes ordinary as inadequate. This mindset destroys appreciation for the quiet man because the quiet man is ordinary in the best sense. He's not generating Instagram content. He's not planning extravagant surprises. He's not providing perpetual excitement. He's providing something far more valuable but far less photogenic, steady, reliable, peaceful stability. But steady, reliable, peaceful stability doesn't generate likes, doesn't create envy, doesn't provide validation through social comparison, so it gets devalued. Women influenced by the entertainment imperative look at the quiet man and see boring. They don't see the value of reliability because reliability isn't exciting. They don't appreciate steadiness because steadiness isn't dramatic. They don't value long-term orientation because long-term doesn't provide immediate gratification. So they reject him, not consciously usually, not with malice. They just feel nothing. No spark, no excitement, no tingles, because excitement is the only emotion they've been trained to recognize as indicating value. And the quiet man doesn't generate excitement, he generates peace. And peace registers as absence rather than presence. The drama addiction problem related to the entertainment imperative is what I call drama addiction, the psychological state where women become dependent on emotional volatility for stimulation and misinterpret the absence of drama as absence of passion. Drama is emotionally intense, fighting and making up, jealousy and reassurance, uncertainty and pursuit, push and pull. This intensity creates neurochemical responses similar to addiction. The highs feel amazing, the lows feel terrible, the cycle becomes addictive. Women who've experienced this intensity in previous relationships become calibrated to it. They associate emotional volatility with passion, with being alive, with love itself. Calm stability feels dead in comparison. Not because it is dead, but because their neurochemistry has adapted to require drama for stimulation. The quiet man doesn't provide drama, he provides calm. And to a woman calibrated to drama, calm feels like apathy. His steadiness feels like lack of investment. His emotional stability feels like lack of caring. Because she's confusing drama with passion when they're actually opposites. Real passion is sustainable intensity, deep connection, genuine care, consistent investment. Drama is unsustainable intensity, emotional chaos that feels passionate because it's volatile but destroys everything long term. The quiet man offers real passion. The drama-addicted woman mistakes his offering for absence of passion because it lacks the volatility she's addicted to. So she rejects him, chases drama, and wonders years later why her relationships keep exploding while the quiet man she rejected is happily married to someone who recognized his value. Except increasingly, the quiet man isn't getting married later, because he's learned that being someone's realized too-late option isn't actually a prize. He's opted out entirely. The provider devaluation. Let's examine what happened to the provider role, one of the quiet man's core value propositions. Historically, male provision was essential and highly valued. Women couldn't easily earn independently. Male income determined family quality of life. Provider ability was primary selection criteria because it was functionally necessary. Modern women earn their own income. They don't need male provision for survival. This should have simply removed provision as necessary criteria. It would still be valued if present but not required. But something strange happened. Instead of provision becoming neutral, nice but not necessary, it became devalued entirely. Men are still expected to earn well and provide, but receive minimal appreciation because she can provide for herself. So the expectation remains, men should earn well, should pay for dates, should contribute more financially, but the appreciation disappears because provision is no longer recognized as valuable contribution. It's baseline expectation that generates no gratitude. The quiet man built his value proposition partly on being excellent provider, not wealthy necessarily, but reliable earner who manages resources well and ensures financial stability. This was previously highly valued. Now, women take it for granted. He earns good income, expected. He manages finances well, expected. He ensures stability, expected. None of it generates appreciation because she could theoretically do it herself, even if she isn't actually doing it herself successfully. So the quiet man is providing significant value that's going completely unappreciated. He's doing exactly what men were told to do for generations, be good provider, and receiving no recognition for it because the culture decided provision isn't valuable contribution when women can earn too. This creates obvious disincentive. Why provide at high level if provision isn't valued? Why work extra hours to earn more if additional income isn't appreciated? Why be excellent provider if excellence in provision generates zero additional attraction or respect? The quiet man is asking these questions and concluding there's no reason to. So he stops. He earns enough for himself, provides for himself adequately, and stops offering provision to relationships where it won't be valued anyway. The protector obsolescence. Similarly, the protector role, another core quiet man value, has been systematically devalued. Historically, male protection was essential. Physical threats were common. Legal systems were unreliable. Women needed male protection for safety. Modern societies are relatively safe. Legal systems theoretically provide protection. Women are told they're strong and independent and don't need male protection. So protection becomes devalued. Men offering protection are told women don't need protecting. That offering protection is condescending. That assuming women need protection is misogynistic. But here's the contradiction. Women still want to feel protected. They still value feeling safe with a man. They still respond to masculine protective instinct. They just don't want to admit needing it because admitting need contradicts independent woman narrative. So the quiet man offers protection and gets rejected for being condescending. Stops offering protection and gets rejected for not making her feel safe. There's no winning. The role itself has become unnavigable. This is particularly crazy-making for quiet men because protection is fundamental to their identity. Being a reliable person who keeps people safe is core to how they see themselves as men. And they're being told that this identity is simultaneously unwanted and insufficient. So increasingly, quiet men are saying, fine, protect yourself. I'll protect myself. I'll be responsible for my own safety and you handle yours. Not out of spite, but because offering protection is punished and not offering protection is punished. So might as well not offer and save the effort. The consistency penalty. Here's a paradox that particularly punishes the quiet man. Consistency, which should be valued, is actually penalized in modern dating. The quiet man is consistent. He shows up the same way every time. You know what you're getting. His behavior is predictable because his character is stable. This should be positive. You can trust him, depend on him, plan around him. But in modern dating, consistency gets interpreted as boring. Predictability gets interpreted as lack of excitement. Stability gets interpreted as lack of passion. Showing up the same way every time gets interpreted as taking her for granted, rather than as demonstration of reliable character. Women frame this as I need spontaneity, or I need to be surprised, or I need excitement. What they're actually saying is consistency doesn't generate the neurochemical responses I've been conditioned to seek. The quiet man can't win here. His core trait, consistency, is being framed as relationship failure. He's being penalized for the exact quality that makes him an excellent long-term partner. And here's the tragic part. If he becomes inconsistent to generate excitement, he stops being the quiet man. He becomes someone performing unpredictability rather than being authentically steady. And that performance is exhausting and unsustainable. So the quiet man faces choice, be himself and get rejected for being boring, or perform being someone else and destroy himself maintaining the performance. Increasingly, he's choosing third option, neither, just opt out. Be himself for himself without offering himself to women who won't value him anyway. The settlement realization, perhaps the most devastating realization for quiet men, even when women choose them, it's often settlement after chasing excitement didn't yield commitment. Women in their 20s chase exciting men, unpredictable, dramatic, high-status men who generate tingles. These men aren't interested in commitment, so women chase them, sleep with them, get attached to them, and eventually get discarded by them. After years of this, women hit late 20s or 30s and reassess. Excitement isn't yielding commitment. Time to shift strategy. Time to find the good guy. Time to value reliability and stability and all those qualities the quiet man has been offering all along. So she gives him a chance. She chooses him, not because she actually desires him the way she desired the exciting men, but because he's practical choice, logical choice, safe choice, because she's decided stability matters more than tingles now that her market value is declining and biological clock is ticking. The quiet man is supposed to feel honored. He's supposed to be grateful that she finally chose him, after years of watching her give her best years to men who didn't value her. He's supposed to accept being her settlement option and pretend it's victory. And historically, many quiet men did accept this. They felt lucky to be chosen at all. They overlooked that they were backup plan. They convinced themselves that her finally recognizing his value meant something, when really, it just meant she ran out of better options. But modern quiet men aren't accepting this anymore, because they've learned that being someone's settlement after years of her pursuing other men is actually humiliation, not honor. That starting relationship where she's settled for you means starting relationship where she's not actually attracted to you, just accepting you as practical choice. And they've realized they deserve better. They deserve to be first choice, desired, not accepted, pursued, not settled for. And if they can't have that, they'd rather have nothing, because nothing is better than being someone's reluctant fallback. The comparison trap related to settlement realization is the comparison trap, where the quiet man is constantly compared to the exciting men she used to chase. Even when she chooses the quiet man, she doesn't stop comparing him to previous partners. The exciting ex who made her feel alive, the unpredictable guy who kept her on her toes, the high-status man who gave her social validation. The quiet man doesn't generate those feelings, he generates different feelings: security, peace, stability. But she's measuring him against excitement, unpredictability, status, metrics he's not trying to win because they're not his strengths. So he's always inadequate by comparison. He makes good money, but not as much as the high-status X. He's emotionally stable, but not as exciting as the dramatic X. He's consistent, but not as unpredictable as the mysterious X. He's being measured against standards he was never trying to meet, for qualities he was never offering, by comparison to men who didn't actually treat her well but generated more intense emotions. This is soul-destroying. You can't win a competition you didn't enter. You can't meet standards you're not built for. You can't generate feelings you don't create. So the quiet man either destroys himself trying to be something he's not, or accepts that he'll never measure up to her memories of men who didn't actually love her. Neither option is acceptable. So increasingly, the third option: don't compete. Don't enter relationships where you'll be compared to exciting failures and found wanting despite being faithful success. The I deserve better mentality: modern women are told relentlessly that they deserve the best, that they shouldn't settle, that they're queens who should demand perfection. This messaging creates catastrophic entitlement that particularly hurts the quiet man. Women are told they deserve men who are high-earning and emotionally available and exciting and stable and tall and fit and socially dominant and domestically helpful. They deserve all of it. They shouldn't settle for less than everything. This creates completely unrealistic standards where anything less than perfect in every dimension is framed as settling. The quiet man is excellent in several dimensions: reliability, stability, provision, protection, loyalty. But he's not perfect in every dimension. He's not maximally exciting. He's not highest status. He's not performing constant entertainment. So by I deserve better standards, he's inadequate. He's settling. She deserves more. Even though more is unrealistic combination of contradictory traits that doesn't exist. The quiet man watches women reject him for not meeting impossible standards. Women who are themselves average on most metrics demanding men who are exceptional on every metric. Women who bring modest value demanding men bring extraordinary value. Women whose own flaws are obvious demanding men without any flaws. And he realizes this isn't actually about deserving. This is about entitlement divorced from reality. She doesn't actually deserve better than him. She's just been told she does despite not offering equivalent value. So he stops offering himself to women whose entitlement makes them unable to recognize his value. He saves his provision, protection, loyalty, and stability for people who'll actually appreciate it rather than treating it as inadequate because it doesn't come with 6 feet height and 6-figure income and male model looks. The invisible labor problem, one aspect that particularly frustrates quiet men, the invisible labor they perform that goes completely unacknowledged. The quiet man handles problems before they become crises, maintains things before they break, manages logistics so life runs smoothly, does the invisible work that prevents drama rather than creating it. This labor is invisible precisely because it's effective. When things run smoothly, there's nothing to notice. When problems are prevented, there are no problems to acknowledge. When crises are averted, there are no crises to appreciate him for handling. So his competence makes his contribution invisible. An invisible contribution doesn't generate appreciation. She doesn't notice that the car never breaks down because he maintains it properly. She doesn't notice that finances are stable because he manages them well. She doesn't notice that life is peaceful because he handles problems before they become dramatic. All she notices is that life is boring, that nothing exciting happens, that days are routine, and she attributes the calm to absence of excitement rather than his presence preventing chaos. Meanwhile, dramatic men create problems, then get appreciated for partially solving problems they created. They generate chaos, then get credit for handling chaos. Their visible firefighting looks impressive compared to the quiet man's invisible prevention. The quiet man reaches breaking point when he realizes his competence is working against him. That being so good at preventing problems means his contribution is invisible and unvalued. That he'd actually receive more appreciation if he did his job worse because then his efforts would be visible. That's backwards incentive structure. And he's increasingly refusing to participate in it. The sex disparity issue. Let's address the uncomfortable reality. Women's sexual attraction and relationship commitment often go to different types of men, and the quiet man suffers most from this disparity. Women are sexually attracted to exciting, dominant, unpredictable men. These men generate tingles, passion, intense emotions. Women want these men sexually. They pursue these men. They offer these men access eagerly. Women commit to reliable, stable, provider men, the quiet men. These men get relationships, but often after women's sexual peak, after years of her giving sexual best to men who didn't commit. He gets her decision to commit. Those men got her desire to commit. The quiet man gets relationship, but often without passion. Sex becomes obligation rather than enthusiasm. She lets him rather than wants him. He's receiving the benefit of commitment, but not the benefit of desire. And he knows it. He knows he's not who she fantasizes about. He's who she chose after men she fantasized about didn't choose her. This is devastating knowledge. You're with someone who chose you as practical decision, but isn't actually attracted to you the way she was attracted to other men. You're receiving commitment without passion, loyalty without enthusiasm, relationship without desire. And increasingly, quiet men are saying, this isn't good enough. I'd rather be alone than with someone who chose me but doesn't desire me. Rather be single than someone's practical settlement option who gets duty sex while she remembers passionate sex with men who didn't commit. That's not inadequacy or insecurity. That's self-respect. That's recognizing you deserve to be desired, not just selected. And if you can't have both, you'd rather have neither. Why he's okay with it. Now let's address the core question, why is the quiet man okay with being rejected by modern relationships? First, because he's discovered that being rejected is better than being settled for. He used to think any relationship was better than no relationship. He's learned that's false. Being someone's backup plan while she wishes you were someone else is worse than being single. Second, because he's discovered peace. The quiet man values peace naturally, and single life is peaceful in ways relationships rarely are anymore. No drama, no tests, no constant performance requirements, no walking on eggshells managing someone else's emotions, just peace. Third, because he's reallocated his provision and protection drives toward himself and people who appreciate it. Instead of providing for a woman who takes it for granted, he provides for himself, builds his own life, helps family and friends who value his contribution. He's still being the provider and protector he was built to be, just for people who appreciate it. Fourth, because he's redefined success. He used to think success meant relationship and family. He's realized success means living according to his values with people who respect those values. If modern relationships require abandoning his values or performing contradiction of his values, then they're not success. They're failure with a relationship label. Fifth, because he's watching other quiet men thrive in single life. He's not isolated in this. He's part of a growing community of men who opted out and discovered it's better than staying in. The social proof is overwhelming. Single life works. Modern relationships often don't. Sixth, because he's done the math. The costs of modern relationships, emotional labor, financial risk, loss of autonomy, possibility of catastrophic divorce, outweigh the benefits for him. He's not being emotional, he's being rational. The expected value of relationships is negative for quiet men in modern market. Seventh, because he's realized he doesn't need validation from women who don't value him. He used to base his self-worth partly on female approval. He's learned to base it on his own assessment of whether he's living according to his values. And by that measure, he's succeeding. The quiet man isn't suffering in solitude, he's thriving in peace. And that peace is worth more than any relationship that would require sacrificing it. Why his absence is finally being felt. So what happens when millions of quiet men opt out of relationship market? The quality of available men plummets. The quiet men, 80th percentile men who would have been excellent husbands, they're gone. What remains? Top 20% men who won't commit because they have too many options. Bottom 20% men who can't provide or protect because they're not capable. The solid middle that formed stable marriages opted out. Women's timelines compress. When quiet men were available as backup, women could spend 20s chasing excitement knowing they'd have stable option later. Now, that stable option isn't available. Women who waste their 20s end up with dramatically worse options in 30s because quiet men aren't waiting anymore. Marriage rates continue dropping. Quiet men were the men who wanted marriage and were built for it. Without them, marriage rates can only decline further. The men who remain either don't want marriage or aren't good at it. Birth rates continue dropping. Quiet men are the men who would have been fathers. Without them having families, birth rates continue the demographic crisis pattern. Social stability erodes. Quiet men are the men who build, maintain, and protect communities. When they're invested in families, they're invested in society. When they're not, they're less invested. Social fabric weakens as these men withdraw investment. Economic productivity patterns shift. Quiet men work hard to provide for families. Without families, many work just enough for themselves. Economic productivity that was driven by male provision motivation decreases as that motivation is removed. The absence is being felt everywhere simultaneously, not as dramatic crisis, but as slow decay. Lower marriage rates, lower birth rates, less social cohesion, less male investment in maintaining systems. Gradual decline that's noticeable in aggregate, even if no single point seems catastrophic. And the response is predictably, blame men. Frame quiet men as failures for opting out. Shame them for refusing to participate. anything except examining why quality men are choosing to leave. What this actually means. Let's be clear about what the quiet man's withdrawal represents. It's the collapse of the traditional social contract without replacement contract, establishing new terms both parties agree to. Traditional contract, men provide and protect, women support and nurture, clear roles, mutual benefit, worked for thousands of years. That contract was broken. Women demanded equal participation in workforce. They demanded equal authority in family. They demanded men maintain provider, protector role, while women didn't maintain support, nurture role. This could have worked if new contract was negotiated, both provide equally, both protect equally, both nurture equally, both hold equal authority. That would be fair. But that's not what happened. Women demanded men maintain traditional male obligations while women didn't maintain traditional female obligations. And somehow this one-sided renegotiation was framed as equality. Quiet men are simply refusing to accept one-sided terms. They're not refusing relationships. They're refusing relationships on terms that require them to fulfill traditional male obligations without receiving traditional female contributions. They're refusing to be only parties still bound by old contract, while other party claims freedom from it. This is rational, this is fair, this is self-respect. And framing it as failure is dishonest. The only path forward, there's only one path that brings quiet men back to relationship market. Honest renegotiation of terms that creates mutual benefit instead of one-sided extraction. This requires women acknowledging that if they want traditionally masculine provision and protection, they need to offer traditionally feminine support and nurturing. Or if they want modern egalitarian relationship, men aren't traditional providers. Both parties provide, protect, and nurture equally. Can't have hybrid, where he provides like traditional husband while she has authority like modern wife. Can't have structure where he has traditional obligations but she has modern freedoms, either both traditional or both modern, but consistent. This also requires women valuing what quiet men actually offer instead of measuring them against excitement they don't provide. Recognizing that reliability, stability, loyalty, provision, protection, these are valuable, these are rare, these are worth appreciating instead of taking for granted. This requires women choosing quiet men first, not after excitement options are exhausted, desiring them, not settling for them, pursuing them, not accepting them as consolation. If you want quiet man's commitment, he deserves your desire, not your rational decision after desire failed elsewhere. But this recalibration requires women admitting current dynamics are unfair to men, admitting they're expecting men to fulfill obligations without reciprocation, admitting quiet men are valuable and their absence is crisis, not convenience. Most women won't do this voluntarily, so quiet men continue walking away, and society continues declining. Final thoughts. Let me tell you why I made this video and why I'm willing to advocate for men society treats as obsolete. Because the quiet man deserves respect. He built civilizations, he maintained societies, he was the foundation of stable families for thousands of years. And he's being discarded because modern culture values entertainment over stability, excitement over reliability, drama over peace. That's society's loss, not his failure. He's still building, still providing, still protecting, just for himself and people who value it, instead of for women who take it for granted. I've watched hundreds of quiet men opt out, and every single one discovered that walking away from relationships that didn't value them was the best decision they ever made. They found peace, they found purpose, they found self-respect. They stopped sacrificing for people who didn't appreciate sacrifice. This channel exists because I got tired of watching valuable men be treated as inadequate because they weren't performing entertainment. I got tired of quiet men being told they're boring when they're actually stable. I got tired of the backbone of society being framed as obsolete when society is collapsing without him. So if you're a quiet man who's been rejected for being too stable, too reliable, too boring, understand this, you're not inadequate. You're offering something valuable to people who don't recognize value. And walking away from people who don't value you isn't failure. It's self-respect. Drop a comment if you're the quiet man. Share your experience. Let other men know they're not alone. That being solid instead of exciting isn't failure, it's character. Subscribe for more truth about why quality men are walking away and why society should be terrified that they're okay with it. Because this channel will never tell quiet men to perform excitement they don't feel. We'll never tell reliable men they're inadequate for being reliable. We'll never frame male stability as boring when it's actually valuable. The quiet man was the backbone. He's walked away. And his absence will be felt for generations. The only question is whether society wakes up before the damage is irreversible.